Hey, YouTubers. Good morning, Robb Moffett. Guys, this is one of the best books I read last year, nonfiction. I think it's probably the second best book, Aging Well by Dr. George Vaillant. This book is about a research study that the doctor has been performing, uh, going over three different longitudinal studies that have been taking place for decades, where they've studied hundreds of people from the time they were adolescents or teenagers into when they die. Basically, you've had the research studies going on, the grant study, for decades after decades. And what the doctor has done is looked at all the research and tried to find out what made some people age well, what made them successful in life, according to his definition. And it's been kind of fascinating. You always think that there are certain things that make a successful life, or maybe you have genetics. Your parents they lived for a long time and they were very successful, or maybe you went to a good college, got a wonderful degree, or you had a lot of money, or you met a lot of people, you knew a lot of people, or you come for a certain socioeconomic background or a different race or ethnicity or whatever. You have different things going for you, and it's not true. Um, According to the study, uh, the the book is very easy to read. It's accessible. It's written at a level that even I can understand, and it has a lot of wonderful case histories where they go over individual persons through when they were young and to where they were old, and how they advanced through life and what were their coping mechanisms, what helped work for them, what didn't, and so on. But the most interesting part is the results, um, the predictors of healthy aging. Now, the number one predictor out of everything, that the most important thing that you can take away from the book is the importance of mental health, being resilient, having coping mechanisms and different things. You want to, throughout life, guard and maintain your mental health, and that's something that we don't do in our society. It's something that you don't even talk about, mental health, and it's the main uh, important thing to have a long, healthy life, because you can have everything else against you, but if you have coping mechanisms and a strong mental health and sense of self-worth, you can do a lot. Where is if you have a terrible mental health and you're a millionaire, things may not work out for too long. So that's the number one key factor to take away from the book, I think. But let's go over the 6 predictors of healthy aging, starting with the variables that do not predict healthy aging, but most people imagine they did. The first one is the ancestral longevity. Um, there doesn't seem to be any correlation to whether or not your grandparents or your aunts or uncles lived to be 100, or really had a successful life and so on. It didn't seem to matter. Cholesterol, once you got over a certain age, um, it didn't seem to matter that much. Although for young people or for those who've already had a heart attack, then it's beneficial. But it seemed to be like at age 50, cholesterol levels didn't distinguish the happy well from the sad sick, or even from the prematurely dead. Stress, uh, that's another factor that didn't seem to be correlated with successful aging. Um, and also, sometimes when people undergo very stressful situations, as time goes by, they recover from it. It's not something that's always lasting. Um, Parental characteristics, um, that, like the doctor says, you can't choose your families, but the there was no predictive longer outcome from parental social class, stability of parental marriage, parental death in childhood, family cohesion, and IQ. Um, Now they're important to young adulthood, but there were no predictive of long-term outcomes. Childhood temperament, it didn't matter. In the long run, the ease of ability to be in social relationships, no, it didn't predict healthy aging. So what were the ones that predicted a person to have a long and healthy and uh, successful life, according to the definition of Dr. Vaillant, because it is subjective. The 7 factors. Now they're different for the low income group that was studied and the grant study, which was basically people I think who went to Harvard were highly upper class, socioeconomic class. There was one difference for the people at the Harvard sample study between 75 and 80. This was successful aging of Harvard sample at age 75 and 80. So obviously there were people who didn't make it to 75 and 80, but for those who were still around at 75 and 80, the successful factors were they had no heavy smoking, no alcohol abuse, they had a stable marriage, they had some exercise, they weren't overweight, and they had mature coping mechanism defenses. And you can see the differences between the happy well, the sad sick, and the dead. Now, what about the cohort of people who were the low income? It was a little bit different, but only one thing was different was basically 12 years of education was a factor. I could see where if you didn't have a high school education, it could be very detrimental to your success in the long term, which would make it difficult. And I don't think they lived as long as the people in the Harvard study. In fact, the sample size was between 65 and 70, where the Harvard study was 75 and 80. So, but there again, no heavy smoking, no alcohol abuse, stable marriage, 12 years of education, not overweight, and mature defenses. So those are the predictors and the things that you want to acquire and maintain throughout your life to get to older ages, because the people who didn't have them, if they had less than 4, they often didn't make it into their old age. So the book has many instances where they go over individual case studies about the different people, which I found was the second most interesting part of the book. It was like you were like an archaeologist or going into these people's lives. I don't know if that's the right term, archaeologist, but you were studying the very beginning of a person's life and in the very end, and you could see the history of it. I guess it's a biography, but a biographer, I guess. But still, it was fascinating. The contents: the study of adult development, social and emotional maturation, the past and how much it matters, not as much as you think. Generativity, a key to successful aging, keeper of the meaning, integrity, healthy aging, retirement, play, creativity. Does wisdom increase with age? Spirituality, religion, old age. Do people really change over time? And positive aging. So it's a very interesting book that opens up a lot of avenues of thought about how to live to an old age successfully, and it's one of the most interesting books I've read in a long time, and I was so fascinated by the different lives that were presented in the book and the results of the study and how important certain things were and how important other things weren't. So, like I said, most important thing out of everything is your mental health and coping mechanisms and being resilient and so on. And you want to find ways to improve and guard them. So hope this was something helpful to you. It's another video in my Robb's Healthy Wealthy Tips. I feel kind of presumptuous to be presenting anybody tips on being healthier or wealthier, since I'm not the healthiest person in the world or the wealthiest person in the world, but I'm just an average person on a journey through life. And as I find things that are interesting, I try to present them to other people and through the lens of my experience and see what you guys think. Hope it's something helpful to you. Put on new videos all the time, and trying to grow this channel. And if you like this channel, you might want to check out my main channel, Robb's Homemade Life. Been doing it for 15 years, got over 1,000 videos. All right, guys, take care. See you out there.